Hey everyone, it's Alice live here at neweconomies.com for the Blockchain Week conference here in London. And we have Lisa Short on the show today. She has organized the speaker list for the conference. And Lisa has been known as in the industry as an influencer, an educator, and more importantly, a women in blockchain advocate. But I'll let her speak on these topics. So with all due respect, welcome,
Thank
Lisa.
you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
So what brings you to organizing such a wonderful event this week in London?
Well, I started working with Lewis Carranza in December, and I think Lewis also had a very keen idea that he wanted to change the concept of some of these conferences where there's some real people brought into the conferences to have real open and honest conversation. And one of my passions is that most of the conferences tend to just recycle the same speakers, we talk the same language, the same audience, but we're not actually getting our message out there to the businesses who truly require the services and the solutions that can be developed from both digital ledger technologies and frontier technologies. We need to bring those people to our world because we're not going to them. We need to bring them in. And they're not all based in the city either. Yeah. There's people that are based in regional areas. So I also have an advocacy for women. There's some amazing women out there doing some amazing jobs and they're not getting a voice. So I think that was really strong. And I think also the startup market needs to have a very different language about it. So my focus on finding some really good speakers to supplement the ones that Lewis had brought on was to bring some real people to have some really decent conversation. And I have certainly been swamped and inundated by those individuals at this conference. And it's been concreted by the discussion panel that we had today. I've just been swamped with that since then as well. So we're obviously on target.
Obviously on target.
We are. And you did ask the question, what am I known for? I'm probably known for the individual who says, what if we don't do it that way? What about if we do it this way?
This way, exactly.
So I'm very comfortable on sitting on the precipice of being uncomfortable. Because that truly leads to innovation. Ask the difficult questions. Say the difficult thing that somebody else is wanting to say but's not game to say it.
Yes, exactly. Well, the other thing too, so you are from Australia.
I am.
I love the accent. And what is the perception or the activity of blockchain in Australia, and how does it compare to that of the United Kingdom?
It's actually very interesting. As you would know, I'm working to get my visa to move to the UK.
We both are.
And I think there's a reason for that. There's some great innovation coming out of Australia. And Australia is actually quite known for great innovation, but always leaves Australia because, one, our population is not large enough. We often use the term that we sit on a cruise control because we have a good quality of life, great environment, we're pretty laid back. But what that also means is that we don't have crucial need. So if you're looking at
a sense of urgency,
there is no sense of urgency, and there is no sense of true innovation. We are certainly struggling with gender equity issues in Australia still. We are struggling with venture capital. In terms of the digital ledger technology space, there's some great innovation and a couple of great colleagues coming out of Australia. There's a couple here at the conference. But we're seeking a market outside Australia. It's not big enough. What we need to be doing, though, is truly engaging internationally. We're sitting on the peripheral of the Asia-Pacific market where we've got some of the biggest emerging nations in the world that have the most urgency, and they are emerging very fast.
I mean, there's some of the countries' growth almost doubles that of developed nations.
Absolutely. And I think one of the key things is, and I had this conversation with some colleagues here at the conference this morning, was that I haven't yet heard up on that stage somebody saying as basic as giving somebody an identity so they can become banked, so they can get an education, so they can actually have financial freedom, is some of the abilities of frontier technology. It's also happening in the emerging nations because they sit in an environment where they don't trust the infrastructure. Whether that's right. Whether we like our politicians, whether we like Theresa May, or whether we like a politician that's leading our country, we are still very lucky to be sitting in an infrastructure that we trust reasonably. They don't.
Exactly. And with frontier technology, like what was the aha moment for you?
Well, the aha moment was actually about 4 years ago. I started my journey on business improvement. I truly believe that we have to make business more internationally focused and more sustainable. And to do that, we have to reduce our costs and increase our efficiency. We have to be able to employ more. We have to continue to do what we do, and we have to have more well-being and a greater focus on humanity in our business services and promotion. So I went looking for technology that I used the term was non-compliance prohibitive. Now there's a big mouthful for you.
Is that alternative technology?
Well, I was looking for something that under the bonnet of the car could stop me doing the wrong thing, even if I didn't even know I was doing the wrong thing, that I could eliminate some of the stuff that I didn't want to do and have technology to do it. I had no idea then that was blockchain. I had no idea that it had the capacity to immutably record identities and smart contracts and so forth. I remember having the conversation, as only Australians can be very blunt, what is blockchain with someone, and starting to learn it. So if I can learn it, anyone can learn it. But I came into the industry from a very different perspective. I came into it from skin in the game, from having been an entrepreneur, having had moments awake at night when people have let me down and so forth, wanting a solution from technology to help me.
Exactly.
And that's where I entered the industry.
That's amazing.
And that's where the rest of the economy is sitting at the moment. And we need to bring them into our world with education.
With education, on a final note, what's next for you?
Interesting. Got a great collaborative group of fantastic people from lawyers, auditors, banks, other great innovators, educational people to establish the first, what we would call a tech ed accelerator.
Tech ed.
Tech ed, not ed tech, tech ed. So we are actually going to bring the business world. It will not be a free program. It's going to be a formal education program where we bring them in and we intersect them with the world of front technology that we know it and the innovators that we know. They need to go to market. This market needs solutions. The two are not meeting at the moment. And at the same time, we need, in that tech ed accelerator, we're going to establish due diligence processes and increase the educational framework and the maturity of that environment so that the new businesses and the existing businesses can go out and get decent capital, get decent legal services, get decent due diligence on their processes and grow their business. So we're not starting with the innovation, we're starting with the problems and the challenges and bringing the innovators to them. And we're going to grow talent that is appropriate to that environment.
Yes, and of course I have one more question I want to ask is, what are some of the worst best practices you've seen in the industry? I know you had several.
There are several.
We don't have to list names.
It is still the gender inequity. I'm still going to bash home the fact that there's 100 top VCs in the world. 3% of that VC is going to women. 300 billion is short for women-led businesses, and I heard a very poor example just this morning of a company that provided a cryptographer to a firm, the best cryptographer that they could provide for the job. She turned up to do the job and they said, she's a woman, we want a 20% discount. And he said, I won't give you a 20% discount. He said, unless you want 20% less work. They pulled the contract. They are the open conversations we need to have, because women are still doing work for not getting paid, and we are still struggling to make our way, do twice the volume of work to have the same impact as our male counterparts.
Wow, that's a great example. I mean, I wish you best of luck, Lisa.
Thank you, Alice.
I'm super happy to be invited by you to come to the conference, and we'll be working on a lot of projects together.
We certainly will be.
And pave forward for women, for people entering this space, and more importantly, for the pioneers that deserve recognition and the funding and the partnerships to make the blockchain industry more accessible. Thank you.
Thank you.